Salutations, my few viewers of the Couch Gambit podcast. We're at the 5th episode. As you can see, I am the host once again. We have done a full rotation, and to celebrate that, we're going to talk about something very depressing. This episode is about overcoming depression, handling loss. That's really all I have to say. Let's roll the intro. And welcome back, my friends. All 69 subscribers. That's
Nice.
right. We are at 69 subscribers. That's exciting, isn't it?
Nice.
And again, to celebrate such a monumentous achievement, something that should be just a joyous occasion, we're going to be talking about something that is just awful, simply saddening. Now, the topic at hand, right? Overcoming depression, handling loss. It was something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, not because I thought we were going to have, all a bunch of laughs, but we probably will. We're a bunch of degenerates. Somehow we're going to make this topic filled with laughter. But regardless, let's get started. So, guys, I kind of want to start with, let's start with you, Jacob, you piece of shit.
How's it going?
Hey, man.
Hey.
So, I forward the question to you. How do you handle depression? How do you handle loss?
This is alcohol for those
True.
of you who are unaware.
Based.
I actually just poured water for him. He's never actually had alcohol.
I've never had a drink of alcohol. I'm in denial. I don't even know what alcohol is.
I was just curious, how each and every one of you have handled it. Perhaps we will offer insight to someone who is watching, give them an idea. Like drinking.
Is that question still forwarded to me?
Yes.
Oh, cool. All right.
This is actually just your podcast.
Yeah, all right.
This is an intervention.
No, these are all my...
We are gathered here today.
No, despite what you said before, this is alcohol. I am an alcoholic, and this will be my last episode because I will be going to rehab.
No.
No, I know. I guess despite my alcoholic joke, I've only been through one major event where it is one major loss through my entire life. There have been moments of tragedy and everything, but one major moment of loss that's happened in my life was when my friend, when my closest friend passed away suddenly one day. His name was Ernesto. We actually did a podcast together called... I forgot the freaking name.
Wow.
The Zillow
Boys.
Boys.
You're a good friend.
How did everyone know the Zillow Boys
We
podcast?
know your
Yeah.
podcast, but you don't even know your own.
I know.
It's okay, Jacob. I forgot to because it wasn't important.
It's part of the alcohol. This is my 15th drink. But we started a podcast called the Zillow Boys. He wanted to start the podcast. I never wanted to do any podcasts, ironically enough, still today. But he got me into it, and I enjoyed doing it with him. And it was a newfound thing that we were able to do with each other. So it was one of the coolest times in my life. We got into our 36th, I believe, episode. And then I posted it one day. And then someone had responded down the comments like, "Rip Ernesto." Like, what? That didn't make any sense. And then he called me. And then I answered the phone. I was like, "Hey." And it was his brother. And he said, "Hey," and he gave me the news, your Ernesto passed away. And then I just did not I'm not a super emotional person. I'm not a huge public crier or nothing. But I was in my dad's office at that point because we had two distinct offices, and I broke freaking down. I walked over to my dad and just said, "Ernesto's gone," and then I just sobbed. I broke down and crying. I cried for a good old freaking time, and dealing with that loss, which was probably the biggest major. I've never had any major families passing that's been super close to me. So that's the closest thing that's gone to a major family member for me because that was my best friend.
Yeah.
And it was freaking hard because even to this day, I still want to talk to him. I still want to ask him things. And even to this day, it's still weird to me that he's gone. It's still very strange because I talk to the guy every single day. But just in one way that I dealt with it to finally get around to it, I'm sorry, this is taking forever, was I am a believer in God, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior.
You and religion.
Yeah, but it's no.
He almost forgot for a second.
Yeah, I almost forgot for a second. Who is my Lord and Savior? I forgot.
He's really in it for the wine.
Yeah, I know. I forgot the podcast and my whole religion for a second. But I know I go back to this a lot, but it is like one of the core of things that make me who I am. That has really been like the biggest thing that has been keeping me on the straight and narrow when all that happened. Because I feel like if I didn't have God to guide me through it, I just would be a freaking wreck. Like I feel like that would just be something that would just crush me forever. But I've been able to lean on God in the sole sense of I believe that God has a plan. I believe that God has a plan from eternity past to present, and that everything is according to His will. And if I believe that God is good inherently, then all of this is for His good and for the betterment of everybody. And I'm able to lean on that. I feel comfort in that. Because otherwise, it's just a random tragedy that just it freaking absolutely shattered my soul. Because, again, that was my best friend. But I've been able to lean on that and trust in Him in that area. That's really how I deal with loss. Other than that, I just handle like a normal man, which is shove it down low and don't talk about it.
Until now.
Until now,
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate it.
You're
This
welcome.
This is my therapy session. But yeah.
But yeah, no, it's, and I do apologize, gentlemen, if this is a hard topic. Not for Liam. He apparently has like no examples. Is what he said.
I'm very privileged in the regard that I haven't. Well, not necessarily. I haven't had like a parent die, or I haven't had a super close friend of mine die. The closest person that's ever like died was my aunt, but I really only had a relationship with her like as a child. It was still saddening. I still went after, because she was diagnosed with like stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and it went to her
shit.
brain. And basically, it just kind of happened suddenly. Well, not the cancer. We knew about the cancer, but it just basically went to her brain, and next thing you know, it just ruptured, and she was just out. She was in her home on a hospital bed. She was basically a few hours away from death. At that point, that's when I went to go see her. I'm not gonna lie, it's emotional. Like, I was able to recover from it rather quickly because, again, my relationship with her kind of just fell apart over the years. But it was still very disheartening. It was really tough. I sat next to her. I watched her in this kind of vegetable state. I saw her kids just very upset, her husband very upset, and my dad. Oh my God, my dad just couldn't even be in the room. But really, that's probably my only example of someone that was close to me dying, because pretty much everyone else I know that has died, I had practically no relationship with. It's sad to hear about their death, but I didn't know them well enough for it to really have an impact on my life. Other than that, I can't think of anything. I've been incredibly privileged not to have either of my parents die. I've been incredibly privileged not to have a friend die, and hopefully it happens way later. Hopefully it's something I don't have to deal with until I'm 35. So,
Well,
or 40.
One can
40.
hold for sure. I got you, man. I mean, I will say, and now this is an individual who is one of my best friends, and I'll remember him always. This is actually Mikey and I. He's one of our best friends. His name was Kyle, and he was like the big brother that I had always and also never wanted. Honestly, Kyle was a fucking menace, dude.
Oh yeah.
I loved him dearly. But yeah, when he passed away, I remember you're the one who gave me the phone call, right?
Yeah.
While I was playing fucking D&D, by the way. Yeah, thanks for that.
It
Way to
was-
ruin the game.
It was a weird way, and this is a point that I kind of want to touch on, and we'll stay on it. I don't want to hijack
Yeah, you're
what you
good.
were saying. To me, it's incredibly important to have some sort of network built up so that if something like that happens, there's a web of people who can be contacted directly who would just spread the news out.
Yeah.
I really don't want people to find out about something that happened to me, or I don't want to find out about something that happened to a close friend or family member over Facebook or something like that. So I have a contact list that's written out for the people that I know wouldn't immediately have access to that information, so that they can be notified as soon as possible. I've got one of my best friends down in College Station, people up in Colorado, stuff like that, like people who would know who to reach out to kind of spread that around, so that people aren't finding out about over Facebook. It's a big piece of advice that I would recommend to anybody. And you can just like have somebody who would know immediately, like an emergency contact, if anything happens to you, that can then send out those messages or however they feel they need to do it. Because I can't even imagine, it would suck. I found out about Kyle because I worked for the local city, the police department, and they send out emails about events that happen, and his name came up. I mean, it was like horrible. It's not the way that you want to find out about a close friend.
I'd imagine not.
So,
can you kind of walk me through the sensations, or just kind of like what you felt when you, I guess, like read his name, or?
You don't really believe it.
Of course.
I definitely did, and it's like,
okay.
It was a pretty common name. Didn't exactly know his date of birth or anything like that.
Terrible friend.
And so like you kind of just reach out.
I didn't know either.
The first thing I did was reach out to him,
Yeah.
just to see, and of course never got an answer, never picked up or anything like that, and looked up the address that it happened at and all that, and it was like, wow, that's really him, like 100% that's him. And so immediately spread the news over to Val and you and Jake, and kind of move forward like that.
Yeah.
Reached out to his family. I remember us dropping off flowers and stuff to his mom. But yeah, there was a weird one, man.
Yeah, and
Surreal.
I'm quite frankly, when you told me, I still played D&D, by the way, even after the news.
Moral of the story.
Yeah, I sat down at the table, like, hey guys, so my best friend just passed away, and like, oh my god, do you need us to stop? I was like, oh no, this is how I cope now. So, but even when I made it home after the game, I definitely, I didn't cry though. I was definitely saddened. I definitely was, in grief. I was stricken, but I don't know why I didn't cry at that moment, right? Perhaps it was still shock.
Right.
But when I really, next couple of days, let it process, I mean, I felt that I was just listless, or just kind of hollow for a while. And honestly, and I've told you about this before, but there's a part of me, and I still think this, that, I felt that I wasn't there for him. And perhaps that is why, just maybe it's a small reason, maybe it's not a reason at all, right? I don't know, because he's gone. But, he had reached out at one point over on Steam, and I didn't recognize his profile name. I don't know why I didn't. I can't give you a reason. Perhaps it was just stupidity. I don't know. But, I saw, it was a question from him asking, hey, you want to just get on, play a game, or just talk? And I didn't recognize the name, and I just ignored it. I went on to do other things. And then, not even, a week or two after, I got the call, and now he's gone. And I perhaps it's unfair of me to blame myself. I know I'm probably not this major contributor, but and even now, right? I still think about it every once in a while. That he had reached out to me, and I had just ignored him.
It's difficult, man, because whenever you're, like, it's impossible not to think about things that you could have done differently, or like what you would have done with more time and all that kind of stuff. But it's also a reality that we expect to have, 40, 50, 60 more years with somebody
Yeah.
that we're close to. And so, like, it sucks. It comes and goes for me whenever I log into Steam and I see his profile
Yeah.
inactive for like over 1,000 days and stuff like that. Like it's still like feels like a shock again to see that for real. Like it really happened. But I mean, it would go against the human experience to live based on regrets and all that kind of stuff. I think that if you really feel guilt from it, it's important to find some sort of way to not atone. What's the word that redeem? I guess find redemption through it and then let it go. But you have to find some way to honor that person and then move on.
I have a question. This might be a weird question. Do y'all find it strange sometimes when big events like this happen that can be considered like big tragedies and you feel like you have the wrong response to it? Does that make sense?
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, so now this is because I think I was just too young, right? But when my grandfather passed away, right? And this was on Halloween Day, right? Supposed to go trick-or-treating, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom got the call, right, that her dad passed away, right? And he's my grandpa, right? I loved the guy. I don't really remember him all that well. I remember snippets, and he was a great man. He served. He was in the Navy, so I have nothing but respect for him, obviously. But when he passed away, God, my mom, like, what a trooper. I mean, she could have been in the military if she wanted to, despite being yay tall or whatever.
Y'all still go trick-or-treating that day?
Yeah, because she didn't want to ruin my day.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right.
She took me out for trick-or-treating with a smile on her face.
Mm.
But I do remember that afterwards, when she thought I was asleep and said I was watching my late-night cartoons without her knowing, Adult Swim.
Of course. The best channel back in the day.
I did hear her sobbing though, and I didn't understand it at the time, and I didn't approach her because I'm like 6, or I don't even remember how old I was.
Yeah, there's no appropriate response for a 6-year-old to have to that.
So, but I don't know if, I don't know if how she handled it was correct or not. I mean, there's no correct answer in my opinion on how you handle like in the moment loss like that. But as a mother, I think, in my opinion, I think she handled it like appropriately, kind of. I don't know. I'm not a parent, but I don't know. I think she seemed to have handled it in a very adult, mature way, but I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
So so generally I would agree that there's no real like right response to it, but I think there's a lot of really damaging responses to it,
for
especially
sure.
over
Yeah,
social
yeah.
media.
Yeah.
I've seen it a lot where people deal with close loss and don't necessarily know how to
No,
respond
you're right.
to it.
Yeah.
You can't blame anybody for that, but the damage you can do by going on social media or just constantly bringing down relationships around you by constantly like not talking about it. What I mean is like
It seems to be seeking attention.
exactly.
Instead of, yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
It really is
Yeah.
what it is.
And that's I think that is a damaging response. I don't think that it's the quote unquote wrong response, because like
Yeah.
you're not going to say that to somebody who's grieving. But I think it does require some self-reflection whenever you're going through this kind of stuff, and some maturity to let yourself take some time. I'm a task-driven person. I like to be able to not distract myself, but do tasks, and I kind of process stuff in the back of my mind, and that's how I grieve. Especially if it's responsibility. I like taking on responsibility and hitting those accomplishments, especially if it relates directly to the tragic event or whatever it
Yeah.
happens to be. And then later on, worry about the quiet moments and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, it was what worked for me. But finding some kind of purpose, if you're worried about not being able to carry that person on, like you got to think through it. Think through what you would have done with them, and then maybe do those things.
Yeah.
Keep them in mind, or maybe, I don't know. It depends person to person, but self-respect or self-reflection is a big thing before you're just going out on social media or, talking.
different there is an appropriate reaction to have. I feel like there might be a way to approach Instagram or some social media platform in a way where it's appropriate, but I feel like a lot of the time if you take a video of yourself crying or whatever, you see this, it's a white girl thing every single
Right.
time where there's tears and everything is he cheated on me, something like that. But even when it's something where their dad died or something like that, it always feels disingenuous if you're crying and talking to a camera, because I don't think at that point you're seeking comfort. You're just seeking it. I feel like even at that level, you're still seeking attention. You're still looking for people to say, I'm sorry, which if it,
Right.
I don't know. Again, I know you said people approach that in very different ways, and I don't want to damn people who have done that if they truly did love the person, but at the same time, it just feels a little disingenuous to me.
Maybe to a degree. Not to say that the person would be disingenuous necessarily, but they may not know how to appropriately emotionally respond. As
We
Noah
do live in
talking
the
about
age of social media.
earlier. So the response is to kind of explain it away in a way that seems emotionally powerful because it reflects how you feel. I don't want to necessarily say that anyone that does this is doing it for attention. I would never assume that. Now, it can look like that. Don't get me wrong. Like I've had people I know on Facebook send out messages where it's just this big kind of paragraph that's a little bit over dramatized for the situation at hand. And I get that as a dramatic situation in life, but it's a real situation. It's not a script, it's not a play, it's a real situation. And dramatizing it in a way can make it seem like you are faking it to a degree.
Yeah, it's true. You really got to be careful about I statements whenever you're talking about this sort of thing. When you start, it's not wrong to use the word I when you're talking about grieving about a loved one or that sort of thing, but it can very easily turn into self-pity versus trying to honor the person. One of the worst videos I've ever seen was, I don't know if y'all had seen it. I wish I had thought to send this out. The girl who was at her father's funeral, they were holding it at I think a church. It was a huge auditorium. And
Yeah.
she gets up on the stage and starts talking about how he was racist. She was mixed. So he married, I think he was white, married a black woman, had a kid. And she started talking about how he was racist and that, she just can't wait for his inheritance and all this. This was her eulogy to him. And it is just wild to me to get up on a stage in front of a crowd of people, and no matter how close you are to that person, and just talk shit. I mean, it is just no matter how bad the person was, I don't know, man. Holding a captive audience there while you rant about it that's extreme.
Well, we also
And
live
it's just tragic. It's just tragic.
And it's just not appropriate.
Sorry.
Even if those were your genuine thoughts, it's not the appropriate time to do it.
Time and place.
It is not the
Oh,
appropriate
absolutely.
time and place.
No, that
I
is
don't-
horrific.
I don't care what your feelings are about the individual. You don't do that at someone's funeral because there are people that are actually there to mourn the loss of this individual, and it's completely selfish for you to stand up and to make these statements, to make a big show out of everything. It's absolutely ridiculous.
For sure.
And to fill an auditorium for a person's funeral is a remarkable thing. That means that
Yeah.
that person was well cared for and cared a lot about a lot of people. And so,
Kyle didn't get that.
It's what's that?
Kyle didn't get that.
Kyle definitely didn't
He
get
did
that.
not get
No, I just It's tragic, man. And again, I really think that social media has damaged this because if you're not getting attention for some big life event, people feel like it doesn't matter, and like it matters. You just need to find some personal satisfaction or direction or anything to.
Yeah, and really the big thing with social media and Facebook, right? I mean, so many people are on it, and we kind of briefly spoke of this in the first episode, but we're so connected yet disconnected at the same time, right? And we rely on social media, Facebook, so often that I say we, but a lot of people often shy away from the real world and pretend that their life is so great on Facebook. They only post the happiest moments of their lives, right? And they get the dopamine hit when people like their posts, but whenever they do, meet a tragedy or, they're going through, problems, they don't really have the capacity or the capability to go to someone about their problems, right? I think a lot of people will still just go on Facebook to either, talk about, the depressing stuff they're going through, or just to pretend, it's not a big deal, and just to keep, seeking out, the dopamine hit to have people like their posts and pretend that life is fine when it's really not.
This is a little off topic, not really off topic but a little off social media. What is y'all's relationship with people who want to reach out to you after tragedy hits?
For me, when Kyle passed away and when my father passed away before Kyle, I had welcomed anyone who wanted to be with me, to reach out to me, because I'm the type of person where, yes, I do like my alone time, and I'd spent plenty of time grieving on my own, but I mean, I love my friends and I love my family, and I don't necessarily will share my grief with them, right? I'll still, because I don't want to ever put people down, but I do welcome them so they can help me heal, right? And
yeah.
I'll always love the people in my life for being there for me when I did go through grief, right? 2019 was a shitty year. It really was. My dad passed away. Kyle passed away about a month, maybe 2 months after that.
Maybe, yeah, something like that.
And then, for God's sakes, I was like, you know what? 2020, it's going to look up. It's going to be a better year. How could it get worse, COVID? Unfucking believable. Unbelievable. But no, I often, I feel incredibly blessed to have the people around me right now, and the people I room with upstairs, and the friends who aren't here anymore, because I'll still remember Kyle. I'll still remember my dad. Even though it's been years, right, that's happened, I'm still, I'm torn up about every once in a while. I still remember them. But I try to think of, the best times of my life with them. And, you're never going to truly heal, right? The wound left behind when someone is gone it's a scar. It'll be with you forever, but it's just something you have to live with.
For me, it's, I love talking about people that I enjoyed time with. Absolutely love it. So if somebody wants to talk to me about it, I'm all for it. I love doing it. What really gets to me is whenever people come up and with the sad expression, "How are you doing?" It's like I don't need. I was doing great, and this is different. You can go up and ask, like, "Hey, what's going on?" Especially if I'm smiling, because I'm generally smiling. Mm-hmm. I like walking into a room and just being in a good mood, and that's it. Or I'm like thinking about something. I might not be smiling, but I'm not in a bad mood. I'm not dwelling on anything. Right. It's not a bad question unless you ask it that way.
Yeah.
Because like the
how do you
response,
feel?
Like the general response is, well, I know it's kind of a dumb question, but how are you doing? It's like, it's not a dumb question. Like, I'm doing pretty good, actually. Like, but I want to, like, if I'm going to talk about it, I want to be, I want to celebrate that
absolutely.
person. I want to celebrate that person, not the situation. I want to celebrate that person
Yeah.
and not be, like, sad and depressed about it.
I love the idea of celebrating someone's life and instead of letting the grief kind of overcome you.
Yeah.
I mean, when I die, I want all of you to single-handedly hold a roast at my funeral.
Oh yeah, no, you didn't even have to tell me that.
See, that's what I would.
Dude,
hope
I've been
for.
writing
Cigars
material for
all
it for
I want cigars and whiskey at the funeral.
Yeah.
I want a full public roast, and heck, I'm just
I will
have
leave
a party.
plate
Have a
of
party
steak
afterwards.
on your gravestone.
Well, what?
I will leave a plate of medium rare cooked ribeye
bacon.
on your
For those of you
with
who haven't-
bacon wrapped.
Those of you who haven't been there since the beginning, Liam is vegan.
Disgusting, I know.
I know, yeah.
Dude,
No.
I'm gonna like
basically already
I'm gonna
dead.
put a whole
Honestly, have you seen his physique? He looks like
Oh
a
my
fucking
God.
skeleton.
So on your
Malnourished.
on your grave, I'm gonna put like a hole like in your casket. And I'm gonna put the cigar. I'm gonna light the cigar as they lower you down.
Yes,
That's exactly
that
what I
is
need.
that's incredibly based. Oh, I'm so sorry, FBI.
Oh, it's
No.
yeah, that's
the
right.
sensible.
Or you'll censor it, right?
Oh yeah.
No, but speaking of like celebrating someone's life, yeah. When my dad passed away, right? So first things first. When I did get the news, unlike with Kyle, where like it kind of took a while for it to like process, right? And I also think I cried like a baby, like a little petulant child, right? Raging at the world, like there's no way this is possible, like this can't be happening. And then shortly after. Carrie, my dad's fiance at the time, called in to let me know. It was moments after, as I'm crying in my office, that I then hear my mother just wailing, right? And it was the day itself was just awful. Which, by the way, when I got the call, I was playing a game of Magic: The Gathering.
There seems to be a trend
online.
here.
Tabletop games, man.
Well, no.
The trend is that Michael is a nerd.
Yes. No, but here's the thing. Even as I was crying and just like in denial that this there's no way this was happening, right? Perhaps this is just a sick, cruel, unusual joke from her. I still played the game of Magic and I won, by the way. Hell yeah, I won.
It's very important.
Oh yeah, dude. And for any listener / viewer who's watching / listening, yeah. If you play Magic: The Gathering like on MTG Arena, I'm in Mythic. I'm really good at the game. I'm just saying. But anyways, so when we were figuring out what we wanted to do for, did we want to, do like funeral or whatever, figuring out if, cremation, all that stuff, we decided we're not going to hold a funeral. We were going to just celebrate his life, right? Because that's what my dad would want. It's absolutely what he wanted because he was a man who he wanted to have a party at least once a month. He loved to party. He loved life, right? And, he didn't have the greatest of pasts, right? He fucked up a lot, right? I'm not going to lie. He was not the best father back in the day, nor was he the best of men. But I have to say that he really proved that you can find meaning in life. You can find success no matter how far in life you are, right? And the last 6, 7, maybe 8 years of his life were probably the happiest of his, in his life, and that's when we were also really starting to become much closer. And I can say that I'm happy that I can say that I was close with my dad before he passed away.
That's great.
Right?
Y'all
I
had
really
a
am.
good after party when the funeral
Oh no, we didn't even do
I
a
think it's
funeral. It
called
was
a
just
reception.
or set. Well,
nice.
jeez.
But yeah, no, it was a time to celebrate his life, and it was a great time.
Yeah, bro. After
After
a few
party.
brewskis over the
Bro.
pregame,
Oh,
bro.
brother!
Now that we're done with this boring part, let's go get some
Fuck
shots.
yeah!
I think another thing about celebrating the life instead of letting the grief overtake you is that it pulls the attention away from yourself, and it basically prevents you from falling into the trap of ultimately making it about you.
Yeah.
Which I'm not gonna blame anyone and say, hey, this is about you. But at some points we're like, hey, and
Well,
we can
funerals are-
express it inappropriately.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Funerals are for like the living.
That's
Oh, yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Funerals are for the living. The celebration afterwards is for
For
the dead.
sure. The like for Ernesto's after party, we
That one was a part. No,
yeah, that one was a
Thank God he's dead.
But after my Ernesto had died, we went to Turning Point Beer and just we ordered pizza, sandwiches, we had slideshows going. We just told stories. It was fun. But that was one of the places that me and Ernesto went to all the time. We did trivia nights. We just went there just to drink and have fun. So that's one of the places that we knew to go to. Like this, he liked this place. Let's just go here because that's like I feel like all of us don't really want all of our family members to be depressed when we die. We're like, you know what?
Says you.
Celebrate. Except yeah.
Wow.
I want you to cry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you-
No.
Michael
Please
says,
celebrate
like,
my life.
I hope if I die early, my mom will be highly depressed. That my friends will be incredibly upset.
I hope they all commit suicide when they find out I died.
my God.
I'd go to take them all out with me.
Join me in hell.
Man, one of the not coolest, that's a insensitive word for this, but one of the coolest like celebrations of life that I've ever been to was a pool buddy of mine up in Colorado. It was very, very sudden. And I kind of heard about it through the grapevine, and I got very, very lucky because I heard about it like 2 days before the celebration of life happened. And I went out, I met all of his family, which was awesome. He was a great dude. I mean, just full of life. And I met him shooting pool up in Colorado, and man, he was all about the game. And anybody who's into pool has friends. Like, I mean, it just a huge amount of friends. And so it was neat to get to know a whole other part about his life. And then there were some pool players there. But I had gotten him into the league and all that kind of stuff, and so I got up and spoke a little bit. And I mean, it's just cool. That one, I love celebrations of life. It's such a great idea, and you know, it was nice. Like you got to see who the guy was and how everybody remembered him, and just awesome. It was really great.
What do y'all want y'all's funerals to be like?
I'm pretty traditional whenever it comes to this. I like not necessarily a church because you don't really get to customize it to the person. But I mean a pretty traditional funeral. The one thing that just I can't get past is the open casket during the proceedings and stuff like that. Like they have the pass by and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. I don't mind that. I love the idea of putting like mementos in the coffin and stuff like that. That's always pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to be stared at after
Oh,
Yeah. That's not you anymore.
Well, also,
it's not, yeah.
And the big thing though is like, you know, like, yes, like if it's just like quick, you know, like to pass something, you know, along, you know, that's actually really cool.
I love it.
Oh yeah, but for me, I think it is. I guess it's, you know, case by case, you know, person to person.
Right.
I want
But-
every. Continue.
That's what I fucking thought.
That.
Anyways, but because when last time I saw my dad right before he passed away, he was on his business trip, right? And we actually even had a heart to heart and all that stuff. And it was strange, right? Because it was not at all how like a conversation we would be having, right? You know, but I just remembered that he told me when we were in the car together that as we were driving his BMW M7, what a based car. Oh, it was so much fun. But he was saying that, you know, Cameron, which that's my middle name, by the way, for anyone who didn't know that, you know, I just want you to be happy, right? I want you to, you know, live comfortably. I want you to be able to drive these kind of cars. You know, I want you to be able to, you know, be proud of yourself. And, you know, I saw him tearing up. My father is someone who does not cry. And it was probably one of the only times that I can remember, really. I saw him tearing up, and we hugged, and told him I love him, he loves me, and then I got to drive the M7. But yeah, I hugged him, and I remember it was warm, not like a uncomfortable heat, in Texas like it normally is.
Oh yeah.
It was like it was a warm day, perfect weather. And then before he went to go get him cremated, we were offered the chance to see him before, he got cremated. And my uncle told me, don't see him. Don't do it. It's better to remember your last image of him to be alive. Because he said he made that mistake with his dad, and he told me that it's something that can break you. And well, I didn't heed that advice because my half sister, who did not have a very good relationship with my dad at all, she wanted to go see him, and for some reason I thought to myself, I don't want the last person in our family to see him to be someone who didn't love him at all. And so I went in there, last person to see him, and I broke down, and I regret it, but it is what it is, because it's startling how cold he was. It was unnatural. It didn't feel real, but it was. But so that's something that I don't recommend for anyone to do. Fucking cringe.
So I'm gonna disagree with you on that because I actually totally recommend it.
Okay.
I'll jump into this one.
Yeah.
My dad also passed, so we'll do a 1-to-1. And this is different ways of coping with it.
Which is why
which is
beforehand I was
important.
saying it depends on the person.
It absolutely
right?
no, and you did.
Yeah,
absolutely. But for the other perspective on it, I maybe it was a compulsion or something like that. I think I would have regretted not taking the time to be with him one last time. And like the reality is, he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
You were absolutely right. Unnaturally cold. I mean, frankly, they're in refrigeration and stuff like that. And it's weird, but I would have felt weird leaving him alone, kind of in the same way that you would have felt weird that the last person seeing him was somebody that
didn't love him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there was some closure that brought, to be honest with you. I spent literally as much time as I possibly could with him. And so I don't know. I really appreciate that I got the opportunity to see him. And I mean, like you said, I completely understand why it would be difficult for somebody, or why it would even break them, like what your uncle was saying. But I think that there is. I don't know. You need to think through this. That's really what this comes down to.
Yeah.
You need to think through this. This is a reality of the situation. Whenever somebody dies, there's something left behind, and you got to think through it. I think I really would have regretted not seeing him.
And perhaps I would have regretted not seeing him myself, because again, my thought process, as I said, was, I don't want someone who didn't care for him to be the last person to sit, in the family at least, to set eyes on him. It just didn't feel right to me at the time.
And it also might have been a different situation. The last time I saw him, he was in a hospital bed. So, I mean, it was...
Yeah. And again, the last time I saw him was at the airport.
Right.
We hugged and we said, I can't wait to see you when I get back, all that stuff. So,
right.
You talked about closure, because I'm sure many people don't get that. A lot of many deaths just happen just freaking straight out of the blue.
Man.
I mean, when when Ernesto died, I did get somewhat of a closure, because the last thing I said to him was "Love you, bud," and that was, and like, "Love you, man, love you too." And that was it. We had a pretty close relationship, so we felt comfortable saying that. I don't just randomly tell people I love them. I feel like that's a very special word. You don't just sway around everywhere.
I love you, Mikey.
Yeah.
Too, baby.
But you say you got you say again. You can tell me if you don't feel comfortable telling this, but you felt pretty comfortable with everything that transpired before that.
It was not just comfortable; it was undeniable. So about 6 months ago, I was looking for other jobs up in Colorado, and things just weren't really working out. And so I remember being on the phone with my dad, and the day before I was about to renew my lease again, he suggested just coming home. I can restart my education, try and move forward with a career down here, and move on like that. And that was all I needed to hear. I trust my dad's judgment 100%. And so a month later, I was moving back down to Texas. And mind you, this was something that I had been worried about for literally the whole time I had been in Colorado. You hear about car crashes and like random shootings and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and wonder like what it's like. I'm 2 states away right now. Like, what if I just get the call one day?
Yeah.
And it terrified me. And so now, I'm disappointed in myself. Colorado was my dream state, and I'm moving back home at my dad's advice. And then 6 months later, it happens. The fear that I had for 2 years just happens. And this is something that could have happened when I was in Colorado. Like it is, it's impossible to say that this was random. I can't. I just can't.
I was actually going to ask you, right, like, how do you think, how much more different would it have been if it had happened while you're still in Colorado?
Man, if one circumstance had been different, it would have been, my response would be completely different. I mean, we got to say last words, and I got to spend a lot of time with him. He had changed a lot in the 3 years since I had moved to Colorado and moved back up, leading up to his death. And so I really got to like love and respect my dad in a way that it was different than being a child growing up with him as the father. I mean, he was genuinely a mentor and just a wonderful guy. And so I got to see I think my dad at his peak. He really was, I think, and he would probably say this about himself. It was his best years.
Yeah.
And so getting that opportunity, if it had happened in Colorado, man, I don't know, because we called family. 3 days before it happened, and then it was a full 2 weeks before we finally had the funeral. And I wouldn't have, like, by the time that we had gathered family, he had already been like he'd been on the ventilator. We wouldn't have gotten last words or anything like that. Like, everything would have been different. So it's, man, I can't even imagine. I don't want to think about it because I feel like it would ruin my outlook on just how things just like played out, man. I mean, if it was gonna happen, I'm so glad that I got the time that I did with him, and that every event that happened, good and bad. I mean, 2 years, like before I moved to Colorado, while I was in Colorado, when I moved back, I'm glad that everything happened exactly the way it happened, because this would have been way different. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know how it would have changed.
But hey, we're in the same club now.
We are in the same club, buddy. I don't know. It's also, he made it very clear, like, how he felt towards me, you know. He did that with everybody in his life. So he just had a lot of wisdom whenever it came to what was needed for closure and how to communicate that with everybody in his life. And that is so insanely important. And I never even really realized it until this happened. And now I'm thinking back on everything that he did just as a man, as a husband and a father, to establish that with everybody in his life. Yeah, I mean, the dude, he was just smart. I don't know what to say. He just wise. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that sort of
Yeah.
thing. I mean, being a genuine person is a big one. Letting people know like where you stand with them, especially if you love them. It's important. It really is, because you might not get that chance again. And with Kyle, the way that it started going downhill, it's just you can't help but wonder. But if you at least make sure that the people around you know how you feel about them, what's going on, it's just a much better way, I think, to live and to let people grieve properly.
Yeah. Gosh, this episode is depressing, but also somewhat, like I'm happy we're doing this episode, because again, the reason I decided that this was going to be the next episode, right, was we go to a bar. I won't name it. I mean, fuck it. We go to the Hideout. It's a bar, and
Our one fan is going to come there.
yeah, my mom.
Our
Hi, Ryan.
Ryan's here, by the way. How's it
hi,
going?
Ryan.
But Brennan, a guy that Mike and I went to high school
Yeah.
with, he had sent me old pictures of Kyle. The only picture I really have was his profile picture, which is him in like middle
man.
school, right?
Oh,
just
something
because
like that.
it was a funny picture of it. Who sent it to us again? Was it Josh or I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember.
It doesn't really matter, but having pictures of him, like helping me. I remember what he looks like, but like seeing his face, it was a rush of memories, and that's when I decided I really wanted to talk about this episode, or talk about this for this episode. And obviously, when your pops passed away, I felt, well, now the wound might be too fresh to do that. And so I was gonna maybe take a rain check on it. Maybe it'll be, I don't know, an episode we do 2-3 months from now, right?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking to myself, I wanted you to just have as much time as you needed to, like feel comfortable talking about it. But when you sent me that text saying, give me the go ahead, I mean, I was so happy.
Yeah. I mean, it's an important topic, and I don't know. I'm grateful that I have something to contribute.
You're shockingly like what? Like,
God.
I'll say like after. I mean, I don't really have anything super compared to both you guys, because that's your dad. I don't know what I would do if my dad was gone. My dad is one of the closest people in my life, but you seem very well adjusted for someone that just had that happen to him.
Like I said, man, the circumstances are so specific. This could have happened in a lot of different ways that wouldn't have been nearly as, I guess, simple. It's simple. I mean, what happened. There was nothing to prevent it. There was nothing. It wasn't a wrong place, wrong time. It wasn't like, boom.
Right.
It was quick. It was sudden, but it wasn't immediate. We got to say what we wanted to say. I mean, it's like everything that you wish you could have, like everything. Whenever you talk about like losing a loved one or something like that, there's a lot of things that go through your head. I wish I would have had more time. Wish I could have said what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. And of course, there's more I wish I could have done with my dad. But I thought I had 30 more years with him, you know? But then I think about it, and he drove and flew up to Colorado, and we went camping and hiking, and he and I shot a lot of pool together. We were he was well loved. Even when I was up in Colorado, he surrounded himself with good people that came up to me and gave me all kinds of stories I never even knew about him. I set up a Dropbox for people to like click on a link and throw in all the photos that they had of him, anything that reminded them of him. And it was just cool. And seeing all these photos, I knew the story behind a lot of these photos, even if I had never seen them. I recognized the place, and I'm like, oh, I heard about that. And it's like, oh man, I really did know more about his life than I was afraid I didn't, and so it really feels like I can carry him rather than grieve in the same way that I would if I had just lost him.
And that kind of stuff I'm sorry to interrupt. That kind of stuff like lasts beyond even this current generation, because there's a person who passed in my family and my dad called him Pacal. And this man was like legendary. Like he was like owner of a diner, and he fought people who were drunk in the diner. Like this man was like super like he was such a cool guy. And all
yeah.
the stories that I've heard of him are like he's legendary. And that stuff has gone beyond his life and like transported himself into my life to the point where I like have pictures of him. I don't even know the guy, and I just know his legendary status, and I just know what he meant to my dad because my dad talks about it all the time. And so this kind of stuff will like transcend that, and I think that's helpful for people who have someone who's that close to them who passed that lack those kinds of stories. Like other than like my faith in God to like keep me moving forward, the stuff that like makes me happy about like my friend's death or Nesta's death was the podcasts. I go back and listen to that podcast all the time just to hear his voice. And I'll have stories about him. We did all sorts of really cool stuff up until the point where he did end up dying. Like we went to like a ranch, fired off fireworks and stuff like that. We went shooting at targets, not people. And we did all this really cool stuff, and all those stories I'm gonna remember, and all the stories that my dad remembers of Pakov, he will remember. Like that kind of stuff, like transcends even us. So that stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the things that I can't really stand the philosophy of like living like you're gonna die tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's such a morbid way of doing it, and also I feel like it detracts away from the whole experience of just living for the sake of life.
One unemployed person at 3:00 in the morning, just riding a freaking boat is like, what are y'all doing? Like making money, dude.
Yeah, it's it's such a like it's almost an obsessive way to live, and I think that that loss would hurt so much more if you try to live like there's no tomorrow, because all you're going to be like, if your entire life was dedicated to doing everything to the absolute max, you're never going to succeed. Like you're never going to hit that mark.
Yeah.
And all you're going to have is regrets because you didn't live the way that you sought to live. I think that taking the opportunity to appreciate what you have and control what you can control, but also like just realize life is full of missed opportunities. You can create opportunities, and I think that's the better way to live. But don't obsess over it, or else there are going to be regrets.
Liam, wanted to speak?
It ultimately creates a fear of death within yourself,
Yeah.
which can be a scary thing. But the truth of the matter is, you're gonna die one of these days. And if you're constantly thinking about it, it's just gonna, as you said, it's just gonna be this huge weight on you.
Right.
And again, life is a bunch of missed opportunities. Life is a series of good and bad, and that's just part of the experience overall.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can accomplish so many things in life, right? You could be one of the great men in history, right? But there are going to be things that you miss out on, right?
Right.
There are going to be opportunities that you weren't able to, strive for. But, as you all said, that's part of life. We just have to enjoy what we do have, appreciate the things we have accomplished and the things that we can accomplish.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's okay to be too tired to like do something. like
I'm too tired to do this podcast.
well, it's because like you just have no control over the future, and so if you just push yourself to the max, it's because like there's been a lot of things like with Kyle, like all the opportunities to like hang out that I was too tired for, I overslept for the very last time that we were all going to hang out for, all that kind of stuff, and it would be so. Like, God, man, if you were to focus on that sort of thing for the rest of your life,
Yeah. Now,
that wouldn't be much of a life.
also though, but here's to be fair about. Oh, go on, Liam. I'll let you talk.
Oh, my bad. I'm actually glad that you.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Oh boy, howdy. No, honestly, Charles, I'm glad that
Speaking
you
of
brought that
lost.
up, because even during this whole conversation, I thought about, because again, I can't really relate to this matter of losing someone super close to me. As I said, the closest person I lost was my aunt. Still saddening. Had a very close relationship with her when I was a kid, not so much when I was an adult. But I did see her about a year before that, before she was had the official cancer diagnosis. And I remember I was coming back from Oklahoma. I pulled in to stop by. She lives like right on the border. Said hello, spent like 3 hours with her, came back, and that was the last time I ever saw her before she was basically in a vegetable state.
Right.
And there was all these events. Like I knew she had cancer. My dad made me notice. He made me aware. And he would go on. There were all these events, just celebrating things like Easter events at her place, and all these are like, hey, let's just hang out and have a beer and like this whole party. And I never went because I was like, I guess I naively thought, oh, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. And it ultimately hit, but I'm glad that you said that because I was having some kind of regret about that when I actually put myself into the state of thinking about it. I was having regret that I didn't go there. That
Right.
I was just like, she lives like 3 hours away for one, and I was just like, oh, she'll be fine and all
Right.
that. I was always like, I had this optimistic view, despite it being stage 4.
Right.
That she would somehow get better. So I'm glad you said that because it does help with some mental clarity. And yeah,
Well, I think the easier way to think about these like missed opportunities is that to get the opportunities is luckier than it is to like it's more based on luck than it is anything else. I mean, you could think of a million times where you could have messaged somebody and been like, "Hey, let's hang out," before something happened, and it's just bad luck.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's all it is. It's just bad luck, man.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the opportunities that I got to be with my dad, to hang out with Kyle
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, dude, it's just, I completely understand whenever people are broken up about missing those opportunities, and I am too. But you just can't. It's unreasonable to beat yourself up over it. It's unreasonable to say that you're, a bad person or a neglectful person for not taking advantage of every single situation and pushing yourself. I mean, like, you think about the reason that you didn't take the opportunity to go see her, and even if it wasn't something like immediately important, maybe you got 4 hours of sleep the night before and you just needed to sleep. Maybe you were hungry and you just needed to eat or something like that. And it's just like, it's an everyday thing, man. You can't. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you
It's just bad luck.
if you wallow in that kind of mindset of I should have taken every opportunity available to be with this person, I mean, that's a path of self-destruction.
Right.
Really, is what it is. And I say that, and I realize, like what I was talking about before, how I still to this day I feel guilty for not reaching back out to Kyle when he had messaged me. And again, that's just because I didn't remember his Steam username.
Right.
I hardly, really played with people on Steam. But it's irrational for me to feel so guilty about it. But I mean, human beings are irrational creatures a lot of the time.
I think as long as you're feeling that in terms of like again, it just goes back to a missed opportunity is all it is. Like, you wanted to spend more time with the person, and that's a great thing. Like, and that goes to show that the relationship was good.
Yeah.
You wanted to hang out with the person and you didn't, but you still cherished that person. The person knew that you cherished them, and I mean, it's I don't really know where to.
And unfortunately, this is kind of just an example with Kyle though, but like you had talked about how, it sucks that, the last time we one of our last outings, you were too tired or something like that. And, I mentioned my thing plenty of times now, but, it takes two to tango though. Kyle was very recluse. He didn't really reach out to us hardly at all. And when we did try reaching out to him, it would always be an excuse, oh, I'm tired, or, oh, I don't have any clothes, I gotta wash them.
Yeah.
And perhaps I think at the time we thought, well, that's just, he's just being lame. But part of me thinks, and again, it's probably bad of me to think this way. It's just an idle thought, or a small thought in my head. But, should I have put two and two together? Should I have realized that, he is getting more and more depressed, perhaps? I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert, I don't know everything.
Right.
There are plenty of things that I don't know, that I don't understand. But what I do know is that, Kyle was a very important person in our lives,
Yeah.
and there were plenty of opportunities that we could have, had to hang out with him. But some instances it might have, I don't want to say our fault, but, it was our decision not to, be with him or whatever. But plenty of those opportunities, it was because he didn't want, to be with us at the time.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a healthy rationale for it. But it's just an acknowledgement of reality.
Yeah.
That's the simple fact of it. You never know what you're going to get the next day. Doesn't mean that you need to, kill yourself over like trying to make it the most of. Okay, that was more of a.
It also doesn't mean you need to kill yourself.
Yeah, don't kill yourself.
Don't kill yourself.
This was a figure of speech.
Look, if you could take
like-
one piece of advice from this podcast, don't kill yourself.
Yeah, no,
Please
that's-
don't.
Please don't.
It's not healthy.
I beg of thee.
But anyways,
recommendation.
like don't break your back over like trying to obsess over living life like you're not gonna get a next day. That's crazy. That's in my opinion a horrible way to live.
Yeah.
Like live to your means, live to your best ability, but like really everything that you do should just be genuine to yourself.
Yes.
That's really what's important. So
And just living in, like, again, life's not all about you. You don't
Yeah.
have to be. This isn't. You don't have to live like life selfishly. Like, what's the best thing that I could do today? Like, the best fulfillment that I've ever gotten is in service for other people. Like,
Yeah.
the best fulfillment that I get is like, I teach a group of middle school boys at church, or I have other things I do with school with a bunch of high school kids. All of them I hope to be a service to, or so. Like a lot of that stuff is very fulfilling, and it gives me purpose. Other people do the same thing. Other people do charity work. Other people do all of this stuff. You don't have to live a life of self fulfillment.
Yeah.
Most of the time, what like the best fulfillment you can get is in service of others. Where if you're serving a God, or if you're serving like just a community or someone special, like if you're there for them, that seems like a life of fulfillment right there, of genuine fulfillment. Like, and that's probably why your dad has all of these friends that reached out, like that he touched, and like he like all of these people like remember him for that. And it's the same thing with my dad's packle. Like all those people have been touched by that one person, and that seems like a life of fulfillment, of genuine fulfillment, rather than just living your life based on if I die tomorrow, at least I'll be happy on my cruise ship that I wasted my money on.
Right.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. One other thing that's
No
super
offense if you have a
important.
cruise ship. If you do,
I would like
comment
a
down
cruise
below.
ship. So
My mom's on a cruise ship. Hopefully,
Oh my
We,
God.
we didn't get invited.
hopefully, she'll make it back.
I was gonna say you're playing D&D tonight, aren't you?
I am.
Oh no!
It's gonna be okay, Cameron. It's gonna be okay, buddy. It's gonna be all right.
Mama, why? Why?
Okay, this is gonna be really.
This is gonna be ironic if it.
Yeah.
Well, no, but here's the thing. I feel that
Not.
I feel knock on wood, yeah. But no, I feel, I can't.
oh my god.
People who are just listening, just watch the episode. Pay very close attention. I fucking hate you. I hope you die. I don't mean that. But one thing that I feel, I don't know if this is a good thing, but it probably is, that I can joke about these kind of things, like shortly after my dad passed away, yes, again, I was a grieving little crybaby, right? But when I was hanging out with my friends, dude, I was just making dead dad jokes.
God, yeah, I was there for it. It was
Yeah. It was incredible.
I'm not there yet, but man.
I gotcha. But literally like a week or so, maybe that after he passed away, I was with our friend Jake at IHOP, the one we always go to.
Yeah.
And Jake was like, "So how you been?" And I was like, "Oh, I got ingrown toenail that I'm getting taken out. And my dad's dead." And Jake's like, he's eating. And he's like, "What?" And then I was like,
God.
"Oh yeah, my dad died." He's like, "What the fuck? When? When did this happen?" I was like, "Oh, like a week ago." I was like, "And you didn't tell me?" I was like, "Surprise!"
Yeah, there you go. Here it is.
And we were and I was talking about like, yeah, no, I know I'm gonna really miss him. I love my dad, blah blah blah. And Jake's like, "Boo hoo, my dad's dead." And I was like, "Damn, Jake, what the fuck?" But again, I found that so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And again, like I guess that's one of the ways I can deal with loss.
Yeah.
The times of grief and depression is humor.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure most comedians that are funny because they've been through some like really tough shit in their lives, but they're able to joke about it.
Right.
And I have so much respect for those comedians. To be able to turn that grief, that sorrow into a way to make people laugh. For people to just have a good time. And that's what I tried to do when I was at Red Robin with my buds after my dad passed away. I was just making dead dad jokes, and they were laughing about it. At first, they were like, "Are you sure you're okay to make these kind of jokes?" But I kept dishing them out.
Right.
And soon it was just a good time. And I welcome dead dad jokes like what Jake did, which that was really funny.
Preview for our upcoming episode on the podcast about comedians.
Oh yeah, hell yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a good one actually.
Yeah.
That's still a few episodes away, Jacob.
Oh yeah, that's my episode. I'm last right
We're
now.
about 3 episodes away from
Thank
that.
God you're last.
I know.
Oh my goodness gracious.
We save the worst for last in this podcast.
Yeah, at the end of this,
Subtlety of a
maybe-
nuclear freaking
Liam,
bomb.
you say you don't feel depression. We're gonna change that.
God.
Jeez, dude, why? What the heck?
God. He's already vegan. How much worse can he get?
We love you.
He's got a better beer than us.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
I quit.
Maybe that's a secret, man.
That's the secret.
Being vegan and have a good beard?
This is weird because my dad has a full beard, but he does not grow it like nearly as quickly as I do. So,
This is all I can do, and I
Which-
eat meat.
which I actually like a clean shave look, but it's so annoying because I have to do it every day. So it's like
Yeah,
we'll just
grow the beard,
we'll just
man.
trim it and
Yep.
keep it like
You already dress like an
a
older man.
millimeter.
Just might as well look like one.
Wow.
Dang.
I hate all of you.
That's not even a That's not even an insult. You could say that as a good thing, maybe. I don't know.
But
A senior citizen.
What?
I am a senior citizen.
You've ruined the
so
episode.
this is, I don't know.
It's ruined. You know what?
Let's just scrap the whole
I was about to say
thing.
to scrap it, reshoot.
This has just been a therapy session. This is nothing else.
We're never airing
Well,
this.
see, that's not, we're gonna
We're never
stay,
uploading this.
Hopefully, we'll stay at 69 subscribers.
Because no one's going to want to subscribe.
Nobody's
after this
gonna. Yeah,
episode.
that's
No
right.
one will subscribe.
We're
I'm
just
looking
keeping
forward to
status
the
quo.
69.99.
Oh.
69.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Are
funny
you
you
proud
think
of
we'll
that
get
one?
that high.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Okay. Keeping it real here. I appreciate that, Liam. I really do.
All right, we accept pity subscribers too.
Yes, actually. Look, guys, people of the world, I really need you to subscribe. I need this to take off so I can stop being a car salesman.
And
So we can.
I've done a lot
Our
worse.
next
Preview
episode, our
for
next actual
our
episode.
low effort episode, The Woes of Car Sales.
Which will
Yes,
feature.
that is an actual thing. And we're going to have a guest star. I wouldn't say star, but we're going to have a guest appearance.
Look,
Where's
Frankly,
Ryan?
all
I
of
mean,
it,
who's in
Look-
the
Oh,
bathroom.
it was probably taking
Frankly-
a shit.
About you.
look forward to it.
I'm sorry.
Next,
He was rubbing one out.
each of us have already done worse for $20, so you know.
Whoa!
Ryan.
Ryan's actually been on multiple episodes.
Oh God! Oh, here it is.
Well, where's mine? Come on.
I don't know what to say
Come
after
here, boy.
that.
Come here, boy.
Been a little
Come here,
violated.
boy.
There he goes.
Come here, boy.
One for the body pillow too.
Ryan, Ryan,
He's
over
my
here.
he's my
Over
work
here.
son.
Come on.
Oh my
Ryan.
god.
All right.
We're gonna be at 0 subscribers.
Oh my god.
What did you?
I kissed my hand. I promise.
I know, but
You
I was trying to make him think that you went for it.
Oh my god.
You know what? 69. This is appropriate with 69.
This is
subscribers.
appropriate.
Yeah, that's
honestly. Honestly, guys. I know one of the most agonizing things to go through is to have someone that you've made so many memories with to become a memory themselves. I know that's something it's a really painful thing to go through, right? The hurt is it's hard to to talk about it. I understand that. But one of the very important things to do is to just talk about it. Have people you care about and who care about you. I know before I said, to just take one tip from us and not commit suicide. Here's tip number 2 that I really think, anyone who is bothering to listen, watch us, reach out to the people in your life that you do love, right? I get it. Sometimes you just want to be alone, and sometimes it's the misery makes it to where you don't want to do anything. But I beseech you to please reach out to people, right? You're not in this alone. You don't have to be. Anyways, I'm happy to have all of you. I really am.
Happy to be here, buddy. Happy to be here with
Even
all
Liam.
y'all.
Even Liam. No.
That'll be for off camera.
No one cares.
For those of you who are listening, there's been an offer to smooch Michael in the lips.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll see you next time
Yeah.
on the Couch Gambit
I
podcast.
might actually kill myself.
But
Don't kill yourself, remember.
But yes, as much as I wish, we could, keep doing this, running this episode forever and ever, talking about depressing shit. All good things and terrible things like this episode must come to a conclusion. As I said before, remember, you're not alone. Reach out to people you care about, but also make sure that, people who care about you, right? Because it's important, Life is too beautiful to just let it stop, right? Just because someone's gone doesn't mean you have to stop living. So, with that, we'll conclude this episode. I'm happy for whoever was listening, watching. Again, 69 subscribers. That's awesome, but
Nice.
I do want to get to more, right? I don't want to be a car salesman anymore. And I hope, that we're able to reach out to more people, whether it is taking our shitty advice or just to hear dumbasses just talk out of their asses. But true. But guys, have a lovely evening or day depending on when you're watching this. God bless.